Whether you call him Leo or Leonardo, our new mayor is no stranger to Durham. Leonardo Williams is a former educator, school administrator, nonprofit leader, and a current small business and restaurant owner, and an education activist. In addition to all that, he's been very active to help fight hunger in our city, as well as to reduce crime. Now, he has taken its place to lead what he calls Durham's next transformation. Welcome to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. Joining me to talk about his new role is Mayor Leonardo Williams. Welcome, Mayor, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, Mayor, congratulations. I think the whole community is excited about what's to come with you as mayor.
This is a really exciting time for the city of Durham.
Yeah. I do know for 2 years that you were on city council before being elected as mayor. Tell me, what are the differences you've found between being mayor and a member of city council?
That's probably one of the most frequent questions that I receive just in the community. And I would probably say just the view in which I approach policy and approach, working with my colleagues. This is a bird's eye view as mayor, and I see everything, and I have to take a very holistic approach to everything that I'm doing. Whereas as a council member, I knew, although I'm still just one vote, but I'm the first of equals. But as a council member, I was coming in from my part of the city, from my, constituents that, I communicate with on a regular basis. So it was a bit more narrow and more singular rather than being so broad now. So I'm not representing Ward 3 right now. I'm representing Ward 3, 1, and 2.
Okay. I've noticed in your recent public remarks and even in the questions that you asked of recent candidates for your former role as city council member, that you talked about the importance of disagreeing without being disagreeable. What is the value of that, and why do you think that is so important?
Thank you for that question. I'm a restaurateur, so I use food as an analogy sometimes. Imagine if you had to eat the same thing every single day. You would get tired of it. I see that same analogy as in working with people. Imagine if you thought the same way, and that was the only approach to anything you did every single time. So I appreciate the diversity of thought, and I don't have to get personal. What I do require as an obligation to myself, when I'm working with people, is my first step is learn what you care about and introduce to you what I care about. And then we take what we're both passionate about and we learn to appreciate that. So I believe in the diversity of thought. I believe in the differing of opinions. And I just love the process of being able to come to common ground. And you don't have to attack a person's character for doing that. Especially when you're committed to doing a service that is not about you.
Well, I heard you say democracy can be messy.
Democracy is messy.
This is just a part of that, right?
Absolutely. So when behind the scenes, I don't mind taking the first step of initiating a very uncomfortable conversation. I do that with my colleagues. I do it with community members. I do it with corporate relations. And then in public, what you should see is, the final steps of finding that common ground, with a third party. But, it should start with a one-to-one conversation. So that's how I work behind the scenes and in public.
Why do you think is so important, too, that council members constructively work to blend their various opinions and somehow come up with a cohesive vision for the city?
This may be grammatically inappropriate, but imagine if community was an action word. And when you ask people how they define community, they always say, it's when we come together. So imagine the meaning of that word being an actual action that we practice and meant it. So I think that your top leaders in your city or in your community should reflect what community really is, and that is coming together in a service that is in which we should be in our most selfless state.
Mayor, you said that Durham's next transformation is just the beginning. What is your vision for that next transformation?
Thank you for that. I just recently talked about, my vision and the steps we want to take to get there. There are three main pillars that I am going to do that with. Community development, economic development, and workforce development. Community is really about, just uplifting humanity and letting that center us. But also with humanity in mind, just ensuring that people are being able to move about the city safely. That means from transit and just getting on and off the bus to paratransit and making sure our access riders have what they need, ensuring that transportation and safety is equitable. It also means public safety. It means that yes, we want to make sure that we're protecting people, but also ensuring that Durham is the most progressive city in the country when it comes to public safety. Economic development is how we create agility in obtaining assets. It allows us to, really ensure that we are producing opportunities. It means that if you want to live and thrive in Durham, then you should be able to. And economic development not only creates more sales tax revenue, but it also creates jobs. It means that we are creating opportunities in multiple industries. But speaking of industries, it leads me to workforce development. Industries look very different today. And it's important that we are preparing our human resource for the resources that are coming on board job-wise. And, from our citywide apprenticeship program that we're working on right now to, just mentoring programs and just building relationships from the household to the workplace, and ensuring that we're thinking holistically from the crib to the career, just developing families to develop individuals so that they can be prepared for jobs that are coming. I think that is a very holistic way of doing governance. So that's what I mean by this is our transformational moment. And I'm crazy enough to believe that the earlier 20th century, there were opportunities presented to them and they thought that it was a transformational opportunity. Here we are in the 21st century. And I think this is our moment, this is our time, this is our opportunity. We're going to take advantage of it.
Right. So, Mayor, I've been with the city of Durham for about 20 years or so, and I think I, along with a lot of other people, were pretty surprised that you did not mention fighting crime or overcoming violence as one of your top priorities. Why is that?
Again, I love analogies. When you cough, someone may think you have a cold. Now, do you talk about the cough or do you talk about what caused the cold? My philosophy on crime is we have to really get to the root cause. I should not be surprised that there's gun violence when we have so much access to guns. I shouldn't be surprised that we have homelessness and poverty when we have such easier access to poverty than building wealth. So my goal is to reverse engineer that and create opportunities to wealth, create opportunities to to jobs. I believe that if we can occupy our time, we can reduce crime. So I don't need to keep talking about how many people got shot. I really don't like being asked, so what are you going to do about the gun violence? Well, what I'm doing is ensuring that I'm creating opportunities into where we're getting access to our youth at an earlier age. We have to play the long, mid, and short game here. And immediately, we have to just make sure that we are creating programs and opportunities in which youth can be engaged. That people can get access to jobs. Mid-wise, just continuing this process, but long-term, we have to get access to our youth and their engagement at a much earlier age. So from the apprenticeship, starting at 16 rather than 18, but mentoring organizations, working together, creating tenacity, engaging them at a much younger age, ensuring that we have early childhood education. We have to start the long term now so that it can pay dividends later. And we'll utilize what resources we can right now to create opportunities as much as possible. But we all see the crime. And I just do not think that we should waste too much time talking about the obvious and put more investment of our energies into what's causing the crime.
Mayor, what are the three biggest challenges you believe are facing our community right now?
So three of the biggest challenges is something that is affecting us, not only worldwide, but nationwide. And that is how we do politics. Policy work is people work. And that means we have to work together. However, we're taking a very divisive approach to that at every level. And so I think that, when we can work together better, we can come together on common ground, common understanding. So that's one. Two, we have to remember cause and effect. And we cannot fill the coffers of resources with just ideas, but more so action. I talked recently about the flag, and how it stands for courage and growth and, just high quality. We have to take action. We have to take action. And the other thing is people are so disgruntled with how their government works at every level that they've lost a sense of pride. And when you lose a sense of pride, you lose the urge to be engaged. And I want to change that. I want to turn that around. I want to give people something to be excited about.
I was going to ask you, we have to create that sense of excitement again. How do we do that?
Well, one, you have to be authentic. You have to be yourself. You will find me not only running the city, but you'll find me serving tables in my restaurant. You have to be reflective of the people in which you represent. And I take pride in that. And, while politics can be messy, I refuse to let that be the narrative that is dominant. This should be fun. And I'm having a great time.
Good.
I'm going to keep having a great time because I want the next little Leo or the next little Lisa to say, you know what, I want to be a politician.
So, Mayor, to piggyback on the mention that you made about the importance of Durham's flag and the colors and indeed the logo, can you briefly touch on why you think the elements of the flag are so important for those of us who live in the city and for those of us who are watching from the outside to understand what Durham is really about?
I have the flag on my chest.
Yes.
I have the flag on my chest. And if I'm going to wear this flag every day on my chest, the closest to my heart, then the purpose of this flag and what it stands for should be the closest to my heart. I lead with my heart. And that is what I want our leaders to do in this city. So, when it talks about being bold and courageous and, being actionable, and being high, just high quality in your ideals and creating opportunity for growth, and development, that's going to be key to us. Our charge was stated when this flag was designed. That's a will we don't have to recreate. We just have to commit to it.
So, Mayor, at the beginning of the show, we talked about your background. How do you think all of the jobs and the roles that you've held have prepared you for this position as mayor?
It's a great question. And some of my friends from college, they tease me and they say, hey, you're the drum major of Durham. My first real leadership role was drum major in the marching band.
Really?
And I was responsible for just leading my peers. And, and what came with that was ensuring that everyone came to practice. Everyone was responsible for, studying their music and practicing, putting in their hours. I would get rehearsals started, call the meeting to order. I would ensure that we, prepare for the show, run the agenda. I would work with parents. I would work with the band director, the manager, the parents, and and their families, the constituents. So my first real role was drum major, and it's amazing. I was a teenager then, and the leadership qualities that I learned then are quite apparent today. It's still some of the same responsibilities. The feeling and the sensation is still the same. It's people work.
Everybody knows that being a public official is tough, and being a mayor is sometimes probably even tougher than a local, regular public official position might be. What are the traits that you believe made you a good fit for this job?
I think, again, I go back to authenticity. I am unapologetic when I say I don't need this role. This is not something I need. I chose to be here. I didn't do it for the money. I didn't do it for the clout. I didn't do it for, getting me to the next phase or the next opportunity. I did it because I gave a dang. I did it because I also experienced, being on the receiving end of, when the community can get heavy on you as a business owner or as an educator or as a parent, as a resident. And when you have lived experiences that really, it can really inspire you to want to do something about it. And I truly believe that, if I see something that I don't sit well with, I should contribute to making it better. And so I was inspired to run for office because of some of the lived experiences as a business owner, and before that, even as an educator, and just being able to, just my students, and engaging in their lives. I wanted to do something to make their lives better. I wanted to do something for the small business community, because I knew that we were the economic backbone of our community. And so I don't think there are any tricks. I think it's really just being motivated and inspired by your lived experiences.
Where are you from?
I'm from down east, Halifax County, Scotland Neck and Enfield and Hobgood, North Carolina.
Did you have that same sense of community when you lived there, or did it?
It was all about community. When I grew up in Hobgood, I knew every single neighbor on my street, and I ate at everybody's kitchen table. My elementary school was close to my house.
Wow.
My mom was a teacher in the school, and everyone on my street could be a babysitter, and that was what I grew up with. When I came to NCCU, I learned that there were other people other than just black and white. And where I'm from, we were either black or white or poor. But I started seeing the diversity of the world when I came to Durham. And I started seeing how different things could be and how things actually were. And as I came into an evolved community, that community started to evolve me. And so here I am today.
So Mayor, I know as busy as you are, relaxation, you have to find the time for it. And it's important. So tell me, what do you do to relax? What are some of your hobbies?
First, you have to take a moment when you can get a moment. And while people recognize the weekend, I recognize moments. So when people are usually taking time off, I'm usually always on. But I'll get up super early or I'll stay up super late. When I get a moment to just have an hour where I'm clearing my schedule and there's nothing going on, I really resolve into that moment to do something normal, like watch something on TV or listen to a podcast. I do have hobbies, which many people in Durham know. I love riding the scooters. I ride those scooters everywhere. And I love going to coffee shops and just meeting folks. And this is a little secret hobby that a lot of folks don't know, but I go to Sam's Club. And sometimes when I get time, I'll sit in the parking lot and I'll wait for an elderly person so I can help them load their grocery in the actual car. I just love doing that, and I couldn't tell you why, but I think that it's just a cool act of service. It's like, hey man, I got it,
So what's the reaction?
It's always like, oh wow, thank you, and I think it's like just, it's little moments like that can just help make the world a better place. Because we have enough that's trying to divide us. So random acts of, just engagement.
Mayor, you've been so active on a personal level in the community. How do you plan to mesh that with your more public role as mayor?
I don't. I don't. I think that we have to be who we are. And I take pride in that. Like I said, I still work at my restaurant. I delivered a catering today. And while I was delivering the catering at Duke Hospital, the doctors came out and took a picture with me. Oh, the mayor is here. I don't know. I don't think politics should have that type of impact on us where it changed who we are. I got here because of what inspired me. And I'm gonna, stay here as long as I'm here. Because of what inspired me and what continues to inspire me, or what will inspire me. So I don't think that, there is a difference. You do have to have your private life, but I don't think who I am as a person should be different personally and public, but that time and how it's spent, my intimacy in my household, that is sacred, you know.
So I think I can probably guess what you're going to say. But this question for you is, what do you love most about Durham?
I am going to say restaurants. We have some of the best restaurants in the world here. You know, I don't care about the Michelin stars and the other ratings or whatever. What I care about is we have a wide, diverse, sphere of, food options and flavor profiles in the city. And they are just places where we can come together. I love that. I love that. And you can literally travel around the world right here in Durham when it comes to food.
What is your favorite restaurant in Durham?
My favorite restaurant is Zoiley's.
Oh, really? Okay. Why?
Oh, I love Zoiley's. One, because the name of the restaurant is my wife's name. And two, I do think we serve some of the best food in Durham. But if I'm not talking about my restaurant, I would probably say, in my very diplomatic role, all of them.
Okay. That narrows it down quite a bit. So, the purpose of this show is just to give people an opportunity to see you, hear you, and get to know you a little bit better. But if I go back to your plan for the future of Durham, what can you say that people need to look forward to from you and from this council?
So one, from the council, I think they should expect functionality. We are going to be very, forward moving. We're going to get a lot of things done because I've already met with each council. I talk to each council member on just multiple times a week. But the first question I ask in our official one-on-one meetings was, what are you passionate about? And what do you want to accomplish? What is the top thing you want to accomplish this year so that I can assess and see how I can support you? And I now know what the top priority for each of my council members are. And I look forward to materializing those with them. And the beautiful thing about being mayor is I have the power to convene. And I can, really pull stakeholders from all over our community together. Not everything has to be a vote. Not everything has to be taxpayer funded. Sometimes it's just a conversation and a relationship. So I look forward to doing that. For me, I think folks are going to, or at least should, expect, a really big vision for Durham for the next 20 years. Soon I'll be publishing my master plan of how to make it happen. It will be a published document that will be online, and you will actually get a chance to see inside of my brain and how it actually works. You'll see my priorities and how I break them down into different categories, different departments, the plan to move them forward, the relationships, how we're going to build relationships, advisory councils to the mayor, from environmental to corporate to housing, so I'm really excited about, really not only talking about it, but being about it. And I'm bringing on stakeholders from all over the community and in the country, the state, to help me carry it out.
Will the public be able to provide any kind of input?
Absolutely, yeah, because part of developing it is doing a citywide tour. I'll be going to different departments. Even did that today. I will be visiting neighborhoods, churches, restaurants, and I'll also be going to businesses, small and large, and also agencies, nonprofits, and just getting input. But I do have to create a framework in which their ideas can be entertained.
Well, Mayor, thank you so much. Is there anything else in closing that you'd like to add?
Durham, I want the residents of Durham to see what others see outside of Durham. Some people will say, oh, don't go to Durham because of the crime. Well, they can keep saying that because Durham is dope, and I love it. But I will say that we are one of the most charming and one of the most admired cities in this country. And people are seeing us as a place of opportunity. And that is why I stated I want Durham to be the epicenter of opportunity from within and without and all in and around. And I want that to be the epicenter of North Carolina. So we are going to do some amazing things. And what I really want the public to know is, under my leadership, I want to give them something to be proud about. So get involved, get engaged.
All right, Mayor, thank you so much for taking time out of your just crazy busy schedule to join us to talk about
My
your vision
pleasure,
for Durham.
my pleasure.
And we'd love to have you back.
Anytime,
All right.
anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that does it for City Life. Don't forget to follow us on social media, watch us on the Durham Television Network and on YouTube, and listen to our podcast on iTunes. I am Beverly Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me to learn more about city life in Durham.
So I have two questions for you. Question number one, where you love riding these electric scooters around, where is the coolest place to ride a scooter? What's the best ride, the best view? So that's question number one. Question number two is, you're a coffee guy. I know you're not going to tell me what your favorite coffee shop is in the area, but what is your favorite type of drink? Like, is it a French press? Is it a cappuccino, macchiato, espresso, latte? What is it?
Great questions. Yeah, you almost started a coffee war because I go to all of them so much. I would say my favorite place to ride the scooter is, it's sort of hard to get up there because I'm a big guy, but once you do get up there on top of the parking deck and you just, right on Corcoran, you get up to the top and just look over the city, and that is just a beautiful view. And when you're going down, it's like super cool because you're going really fast. And as far as coffee, I really frequent a lot of coffee shops. But my favorite coffee is just a regular coffee with oat milk, 3 Splendas, cinnamon in the hand to rake off in to make sure I don't over pour. Stir 3 times and raise it to say thank you. That's my coffee.
Wow, fantastic.
Sounds like the recipe for a new coffee blend called the Mayor. Mayor Leo.
That's my bourbon drink.
That's the same thing with bourbon?
Right.
No, my bourbon drink is a spicy hot honey old fashioned, and it's called the Mayor. You can only get it at Akaya though.
So, foodie question. Were you, I heard you're a vegan, so were you a vegetarian before vegan, and why did you decide to go vegan?
My wife has a habit of being very idealistic and then caving in. So I was just supporting my wife, and I've always been, a carnivore. I don't do the vegan stuff. She said, we're going vegan for January.
Oh, okay.
And I said, all right, I'll support you.
Okay.
I started doing it, and a week in, she was like, I can't do it anymore. And I was like, no way, I'm loving this.
Oh.
So I will be continuing, and I'm going to see how I feel. I think the only hard part is when you're out and about so busy, and you want to get something to eat, and it's just really hard. You find yourself eating fries or, just oatmeal in the middle of the day like I did today. And that gets a little... that's tough. It's one thing to be vegan, but you still want to eat healthy.
Right.
Right, So, but I'm going to give it a shot. I feel so much better, my body-wise,
So there were a number of previous mayors at your swearing-in ceremony. How do you define the role for yourself while also respecting and honoring those that have come before you in the role and what they have already achieved and done, but then also giving it your own twist and your own personality and putting your stamp on it?
Yeah, so the twist in personality comes basically just because of who we are as individuals. But, once you finish that oath and you say, "So help me God," you immediately feel the weight of the city apply on your shoulders. And if you've ever said anything negative about someone that came before you or positive, it doesn't matter, you immediately gain like this ultimate appreciation for them. Because when you're the only one, when you're sitting in the seat of full responsibility by yourself, yes, there's 7 of us on the council, but we don't share the same responsibility. Once that happens, you become a part of a very exclusive club. And no matter our political views, they will always be there for one another. And I have a visit coming up really soon, the first female mayor of Durham. She's over in Crowsdale. She wanted to be there that night, but she was feeling a little under the weather. So I'll be visiting her. And also Mr. Chester, his wife, First Lady. Yep. So she wanted to be there. She was under the weather. So I have 2 visits to go. And I happened to be at Walmart one day, and this lady came up to me and she was like, "My mother is just so happy." I was like, "Oh, that's really sweet. Who's your mother?" "Oh, she was the first woman mayor of Durham." I said, "Wow." So I think that, the differentiation of us as individuals come because we are individuals. And we'll take a different approach every single time. Mayor O'Neill and I are very different in our approach, but we are consistent in our passion for Durham. And I believe that's the case for all past mayors. And also it's symbolic that no matter our political views, we really love this city. And it's important that we show up for one another. Yep.
Any other questions? All right. There are no more questions, and that's a wrap. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.